Asiatic Minds Online School is offering a full educational curriculum, including history, social studies, and family lore classes, where students not only develop their skills, talents, and abilities, they also learn the importance of exploring their own family history. With us is the founder of Asiatic Minds Online School, Sherrie Muhammad, and she is back with educator Khadirah Muhammad to speak on this topic and more about the school. Greetings, ladies.
Greetings. Thank you so much for having us this evening.
Yes, ma'am. Now, Sister Sherrie, on your last appearance on our show, you spoke briefly about what inspired you to launch Asiatic Minds Online School. Can you expound more on that and tell us about your background and how it evolved into online education?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. I believe that I did share about my children the last time that I was on the show,
Yes.
that they are the main reason for Asiatic Minds, for me, for developing into a school. I will also add that this the time that we're living in now, the time that it's time to separate, that plays a major part also in Asiatic Minds being an online school, because we have to do everything that we can within our reach in order to help our people have the opportunity to separate from this enemy school system, which has totally cut us off from our roots. So we don't have when we don't learn about self, when we don't learn certain things, then we cannot grow. So when a tree's roots is cut off, it dies. And so Asiatic Minds, this is our opportunity to do our part in helping to free our people, our nation, and it's time for separation. So this is, for me, this is right on time, and I've heard that echo through so many people who I've talked to about the school, that this is just happening at the right time for us.
Right. Now, as public institutions have banned the teaching of many historical facts, including critical race theory in their schools, will Asiatic Minds students be taught the true history?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Asiatic Minds is based in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's the truth. Point blank. Master Father Muhammad came and gave him the truth. And that's what is going to be the basis of Asiatic Minds. And so we don't shy away from the history. History is, how does the saying go? The truth will set you free.
Yes.
That is absolutely correct. So truth will be taught so that our children's minds can be set free from the trappings of this world, that we can see beyond the structure or the box that this world tries to put us in. So absolutely, the truth will be taught in every class.
Right. Now, Sister Khadirah, as an Asiatic Minds family lore teacher, why do you think it is important for students to explore, collect, record, learn, and ultimately understand their family history?
What a beautiful question. I believe and think that it is important to collect family history because Black people, when we hear or talk about our family, it is not normal that we talk about the goods or the positive history. So with family lore, when I teach the class, the importance of it is to learn the positive side of the family, learn what makes you you, because I believe when it comes to family, you're not here by yourself. Your family, everybody from the past, they all put a little piece of them in you, and then that goes on for the next generation. And so I believe it's very important to collect family lore. Yes.
Yeah. Can exploring and preserving family histories help change perceptions about the family?
Of course, I believe that is very true. Reason being, because when you learn about more history about your family, you create this different picture that what that wasn't painted before. So yes.
Yes. Now, Sister Sherrie, can you give us an example of how the Supreme Wisdom's lessons will be incorporated into classes such as history and social studies?
Yes, ma'am. So for each one of those classes, I definitely do lead way for the instructors of the class to pull in that supreme wisdom as they see fit and how they want to incorporate it in the lessons that they are planning. But I can say that definitely for that Islamic studies piece, I'm a co-teacher on the Islamic studies piece with Sister Muhammad, and we definitely will be pulling in English lesson number C1, some recitation pieces, actual facts, student enrollment going into Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1. And having those memorizations for our children, but then also having an opportunity to discuss and see how they are processing that information as well.
Oh, beautiful. Sister Khadirah, can you give us a few examples of the resources and the tools that students in the family lore class can utilize to gather information about their family history?
Yes. So actually, before I took this class when I was in high school, and the main tool that we used was ourselves, talking to our first parents and getting information on both sides. And then, if you don't really want to talk to your family and do more independent work, we live in a modern time. So we have Facebook, Ancestry. So you can go to your Facebook pages of your family members and pull pictures and quotes. And you can even ask, if you don't have their number, message them on these various apps and get more information about family lore. So,
Can you share with us some of the reactions of the students as they have begun to learn more about their own family history?
yes. So the reactions have been very eye-opening. They are like, oh my God, I didn't know this about my family. And I feel when you learn more about your family history, it brings the family together because you are now discussing old family stories, things that bring joy to the family. And so the reactions have always been positive.
Oh, perfect. Now, Sister Sherrie, are history and social studies classes a core part of the Asiatic Minds online core curriculum?
Yes, ma'am. And I would say it's one of the unique pieces as well, because the way the history and social studies is one class, and the way that that will be laid out and taught is much different from what you're going to find in any other school, because it is definitely coming from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's definitely going to be dealing with the formation of the moon, the different things that you're not going to find that in any public school. I can't say any other school because there are other Muslim schools out there, but you're not going to find that in any public school. And it's really that history piece is going to be the part that really helps the students to understand. It's like the family lore, but it's going beyond your blood family. So it ties into our people and where we come from. And we were more than kings and queens. We were gods. We were gods. Can't say goddesses because the minister corrected us on that. We were gods, whether you're female or a male. So it is something that that history is so rich. And I was telling our instructor, I said, I'm going to be sitting in on that class myself because a lot of times history ends up not being students' favorite subjects in school because they don't see themselves. In this, you will see yourself. We will be able to see ourselves and then understand how we connect and how other people came onto the scene. So this history class is going to be an amazing class. And I think it may be the children's, some of their favorite class. So I absolutely look forward to it.
Oh, beautiful. Now, Asiatic Minds, Sister Sherrie, recently held an open house for parents. If parents missed it, what should they do?
So you have it up on the screen that right there. They all they have to do is go to the website asiaticminds.com, and you can reserve your seat for the next open house. Our next open house, we have two more coming up.
Perfect.
We have one August the 7th and August the, I want to say 13th. Yes, August the 13th. And so whichever one of those fits into your schedule, please by all means go to asiaticminds.com. Go ahead and reserve your spot. And also on the website, you have the opportunity to send me an email, as well as there's a phone number there that you can reach out and call should you have questions and you just don't want to wait till August the 7th.
Right.
And that's absolutely fine.
Yes, and that was my next question. For those parents who are ready and want to contact the school to get the children enrolled, how would they do that?
They could send me an email at sherrie@asiaticminds.com, or they can give me a call. And I do not know the school phone number off the top of my head. I know it's a 219, I think it's 4848, but there's, you can certainly look on asiaticminds.com and there is a phone number there. And I also want to add that the school is filling up pretty fast. So those who are out there, if you have questions, don't hesitate to go ahead and reach out and get your questions answered so that you can see if this is a good fit for you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Sister Sherrie, for coming back to join us to talk more about the online school. And Sister Khadirah, thank you so much for your important class. I am sure that it will make a difference in a lot of our children's lives, just learning about their own family history, because that is something that many of us beyond our immediate family just do not know.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you so much, Sister Rosalind, for having us. And of course, as always, thank you to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Were it not for him, I would not be sitting here today. And so I want to thank him and his family as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. Coming up, weekly contributor Dr. Akili Muhammad will discuss the latest news in the COVID pandemic and the best way to produce an adequate immune system. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues and concerns grow over the Delta variant, it's important to consider the best way to produce an adequate immune system to increase confidence in surviving this plague.
Arkansas now leads the nation when it comes to COVID hospitalizations on a per capita basis. At this hospital where we are in Little Rock, I just checked, and the average age of a COVID patient is 40 years old. You know what it was 6 months ago? 60 years old. They were just telling us people are walking in sicker and younger than ever before. Tonight, COVID is surging in Arkansas for the third time.
It's hard to breathe, so I have to have oxygen.
The number of hospitalizations has nearly tripled just in the past month.
I regret it, not getting the COVID vaccination.
I thought I couldn't catch it, you know. So I just went on by my daily life.
Arkansas has the nation's third worst vaccination rate, and now it's overwhelmed by the far more contagious Delta variant, which is showing up in 84% of all new COVID cases.
Joining us to discuss this is our medical contributor, Dr. Akili Muhammad. Greetings, sir.
Greetings, ma'am. How are you?
I am well. What is the best way to produce an adequate immune system?
You know, I think it's amazing because those statistics that we were just listening to is right in line with my research. June 24th, I actually took pictures with my phone of the current COVID cases. And in comparison to that date to today, there's been approximately a 3 times or threefold increase in number of cases. And you heard in the short clip there that they had 3 times greater people coming into the hospital. And so to me, the thing that's different about now in the cases surging versus the cases surging when the pandemic first started in 2020 is that we're in a hot part of the season. And so there are a lot of the fruits and the vegetables that will give us a lot of vitamin C, in addition to the fact that when you're out in the sunshine, that does a benefit to the body that nothing else can measure up to. So vitamin D, of course, is important for that, but it's just some things that we don't know how to measure. And again, you know, in this conversation, I'm talking about putting God first, because look at the way that God already has an environment ready for us to have an improved immune system during the time of this re-increase in the number of cases that we've seen multiple times happen during this pandemic. And I think it's interesting because you heard the young man on that segment say, I didn't think I could get it. And that is the problem in a lot of situations is people aren't protecting themselves like they should. You should protect yourself in order to keep your immune system strong enough to be able to handle when you do get exposed to it.
Mm. Now, you mentioned an important thing here, which is the relationship between Allah, God, and the immune system. I do have a question, however.
Yes,
with God creating this wonderful environment for us, we should be outside getting some sun. What do you say to those who are focused on going places now that the world, quote unquote, has opened up?
Well, I think we've had this conversation on this show before, is that, you know, if a person is incarcerated, let's just use a common thing, you know, young man in jail, and then he starts to get an idea, okay, I'm going to be free. And they let him out of his cell. He gets to the place where they give him his personal belongings back, and he's getting ready to walk out the door. And then somebody pulls him back and say, we got another charge, we're putting you back in jail. To me, that's what a lot of people are experiencing right now. They thought, because they were pushed with this propaganda, that vaccine was going to change everything and make everything better, and that the world was going to get back to the way it was supposed to be because of vaccinations. And I personally have seen many people complain that they were bullied, they were tricked, and they were pressured by family members or co-workers to get the vaccine. And they're highly upset because they kept themselves free of the infection for many, many months, and for some even over a year. And then once they got the vaccine, they developed the infection or caught the infection from somebody else. And so the reports out here that there's a small number of breakthrough cases, I think is very inaccurate, because there's so many people that are so disenfranchised with the whole vaccination reality that they're not going back to report, and they're not going to report. They're just frustrated. So they're trying to find another way. And so I think when it really comes down to it, there's going to be a lot of anger in people that are going to have to re-confine themselves because these cases are going to go back up. And I haven't seen very many people that are vaccinated that are confident that they can make it through these times and not be concerned about getting reinfected.
Right. We've heard a lot about comorbidities. What do comorbidities have to do with the immune system?
Well, I would say a good analogy would be if any of us that are listening have the ability to, let's say, be confident to protect yourself in a situation of potential harm, right? Like we saw earlier about this lady that was in the Victoria's Secret store. She tries to attack somebody, and then when she either was intimidated or realized that she wasn't going to do what she thought she was going to do, then she tried to play the victim. But imagine you were in a situation like that, but it's 3 or 4 strong women if you're a woman, or 3 or 4 strong men if you're a man. If you had to fight one of them and you felt confident, you might do okay. But if they are just as confident as you are, but you had to fight 4, it's either going to be a much tougher battle, or you might succumb to that pressure of those 3 people. And so that is what it's like to have a comorbidity at the same time that you're trying to survive amongst a pandemic like we're in right now. So if you have high blood pressure, if you have diabetes, if you have a heart problem, if you have high cholesterol, if you have an autoimmune disorder, if you've recently been through a surgery, your immune system is very challenged. And so to have one or more of those comorbidities, and then to have to try to have a system strong enough to be able to fight the type of environment we have right now, it can become pretty difficult on the body.
And would you suggest that people have an accurate evaluation of how truly to maintain an excellent immune system?
Yeah, I think you should. And that is not necessarily something that we actually have a blood test or a measurement to do, but it's more about you and tracking yourself. For instance, a lot of people are talking about the fact that the flu season was really low last year. And they were talking about the fact that it might have been due to the fact that a lot of people were wearing masks. But regardless of those things that were happening and the cases being low, that's how you can evaluate yourself. Over the last 5 years, how many times have you caught a cold? How many times have you caught the flu? Have you had any issues that you went to the doctor and you had to get some medication to get over? Those are signs that your immune system is not that strong. And so we should use that as our measuring tool, right? So for instance, if a person in the last 5 years has gotten sick every year until last year, but you know that you stayed away from the public a lot and did a lot of isolation, then you might not necessarily have a lot of confidence in your immune system. But if you start to apply the things that can boost your immune system, it will make you much more capable if there is a potential threat.
Now, just a moment ago, and a little earlier, you mentioned some examples of ailments that might reduce the effectiveness of the immune system. For example, someone who has just had surgery. The current immunization schedule for children, a lot of times when children are getting ready to get this shot, doctors will warn parents that the child might receive a little fever or may cold-like symptoms. Mm-hmm. Would you say that getting a vaccination, whether it be a COVID-19 vaccination or any other vaccination, would potentially reduce the body's immune system, at least temporarily?
Absolutely, I do. I think, again, putting things back in the context of, I think what we should always start is, how does God produce immunity, and how does the immune system work in the way that he created them? So if you have a break in the skin, if you have something introduced through the nose or through the mouth, those are the ways that the immune system is usually threatened. And then, of course, if we talk about from a sexual perspective, but that's really not the case, but just from a sexual perspective, that's another way that they can enter. But the point that I'm getting to is that these are the ways that things can enter the body in the way that the immune system is made to stop that threat. And so you don't have a normal immune system response to something that's injected into the body. When something is injected into a muscle, the muscle tries to wall it off and keep it in that one little area, but it slowly is released. And when we're talking about aches all over the body and fever and other systemic type symptoms, that is proof that this substance that is being injected into you is going all over the body. And so that's not the way the immune system was made to be developed in that manner. And so when you do something that's not in accordance with the way God made these systems, I don't believe that you get the same results.
Perfect. And where and how should individuals begin improving their immune systems to increase their own confidence in surviving this plague?
Well, I think the first place to start is with what we just said. You know, you've been given a beautiful immune system by the God that you serve. So believe in it. And then you have to start doing the things that helps make it and maintains it. So sunshine, air, being out in an environment of trees, plants, and grass, and things that have a natural aromatherapy that have been proven to do a lot of good to boosting our immune system. And then when we're talking about foods, we're talking about vitamin C rich foods, vitamin D rich foods, honey as a sweetener, making sure that we're eating good amounts of fruits and vegetables. I would say that we should never sleep on that navy bean. The navy bean is excellent for the immune system. And then another good thing is milk. I know there's a lot of controversy out here about milk and, you know, animal byproducts, but the Quran states that milk is agreeable to the drinker. So I'll put God's word above general public and people who speak as if they're experts, but really aren't. And so when you know how to take those foods and apply them to the body correctly, meaning prepare them in the right way, meaning that fruit should be eaten raw, vegetables should be prepared in the correct way, beans have to be prepared in the correct way. And you have to know the correct questions to ask when you go purchase milk, because I'm not speaking of the milk that's in typical grocery stores. And so if you know how to do those things appropriately, then you will have the type of immune system where you could not be a fool, but walk around and still protect yourself and have confidence. I'm going to make it through this pandemic and come out okay.
Right. Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors, Dr. Akili. When we return, we'll have more from our medical contributor. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Asiatic Minds, online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Classes begin September 1st. To enroll, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
This is Sister Sherrie Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline reads, "Separate and Be Saved. America's race problems and deadly race interactions are growing worse. It is time we leave the children of our former slave masters and 400-year-old tormentors. Separation from whites is the only and best solution to this problem, a serious problem that is rooted in prophecy." This FCM Volume Number 41 edition middle page article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is entitled, "A Case for Separation." To read more, subscribe to FinalCallDigital.com and tune in to the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the NNVNews.com Final Call Cover Report.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
To continue the discussion regarding the latest on the COVID pandemic, with us is Dr. Akili Muhammad. Greetings again, sir.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Akili, can you explain to us what a variant is? We've heard a lot about this Delta variant in the news lately. What is a variant?
Yeah, so that's a variant would be something that has changed from the original one that they find or the initial one that they study. And I guess a good analogy would be like a person like me who doesn't necessarily have the darkest of skin, right? If I was to go out and spend a long time out in the sun, I don't recommend this, but I'm just using this as an analogy. If I was to put something on my skin to maybe protect my skin from the sun, or I was to put on a pair of sunglasses because the sun may be bright, or I may put on light colored clothes to give myself a little less of the absorption of that heat. These are simple things that I could do to try to handle the environment that I'm going into. And so that's what viruses, bacteria, and other germs do. Specifically for this discussion, speaking of a virus, they can do small things to try to help themselves survive in an environment that may be trying to attack them or trying to actually kill them altogether. And so anything that changes from the original perspective is a variant, or what we can call I'm forgetting the other name, but so once it changes, then that now is something different, a little different, same family, but has a little different ability to survive. And then of course, sometimes that situation could be just the opposite. An analogy could be like if I left the house and I don't have a hoodie, or I don't have a long sleeve shirt, or I don't have an umbrella, and I get somewhere and it just starts to rain real hard and I wind up, slipping on the ground, or getting in a situation where I get so much water I'm drenched and I mess up my phone or other things like that. So a variant can also be one that's weaker, or one that has been damaged and doesn't have as much strength as the original virus that was detected. And so those would be how I would use those analogies to explain what a variant is. I pray that makes sense.
It does. Is this pandemic, in your opinion, is this becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated, like the news is reporting?
Yes, I think the push for people to get vaccinated is so strong right now that nothing else is even being considered. And so when we look at social media, anybody that says anything just to present another perspective is marked, is edited, is censored. And unfortunately, we're looking at ideologies from all over the world, all different countries, that are speaking to the unvaccinated as the problem. I mean, literally, I've seen in the last week stories from doctors around the country saying that people that are not vaccinated are where these variants are landing, and that's how they're becoming variants. Well, you don't have any proof of that to make those type of claims. And then secondly, they're saying that the rise of these variants are due to the fact that there is an unvaccinated percentage of the population. Well, it's kind of hard to take this as any truth when we're looking at right now as an average, we're right at 50% of the entire world. And so, of course, there's some countries that have a higher percentage and some lower. But in general, like America, we're right about 50%. And when we're looking at 50% of a population of the entire world being vaccinated, in some countries we're talking about 50% and other up. And let's kind of keep the conversation to the countries that have large populations. The majority of the large population countries have high immunization rates, but yet these are the same places where a lot of the cases are increasing. Right. And so the argument that vaccinations is going to stop the rise of this pandemic, it just doesn't have any validity, because the numbers don't equal your statements that it's the vaccinated that are causing the problem. It doesn't make sound science the way that they're speaking. And so, asking my opinion, you asked, that to me is why I am pretty sure that things are going to get extremely out of control, even farther than they are now, right? Because we're talking just within 2 to 3 weeks, we're having a trifold increase in general in this country, and it seems like in general around the world. But when the scientists and the doctors and the so-called healthcare people are supposed to be the gatekeepers for health, and they're using arguments that have no validity, then I think that's kind of a wary sign for the general population. And again, as I said earlier, a lot of the people that I know of that have taken the vaccine or were considering it, a lot of them are backtracking now because they don't see the evidence that they have been told the truth.
Now, what do you think we can expect in the future with these new breakthrough cases that the CDC is tracking in vaccinated people?
Yes. Well, my expectation is that they're going to continue to try to hide it. They're going to continue to try to use deceptive information and say that it's a small percentage of breakthrough cases. Well, if the numbers keep rising the way they are, at what point can you continue to blame the unvaccinated? Because if unvaccinated people are the cause, then that means this should be spreading amongst the unvaccinated. And as they keep saying that the vaccinated are protected from getting severe illness, and so they have mild cases and they're getting over it, they're not being hospitalized, well, that information is going to eventually have to come out because, as I have reported before, the doctors that I know of and the healthcare workers that I know personally around the country are not saying the same thing that the news is reporting. And so the information is going to start coming out because the people that are in the emergency rooms, in the ICUs and the hospitals around the country, they're the ones that are doing the note taking. They're taking the histories when these people come in. And so if the information is coming from the grassroots people around the country in the hospitals are saying that, man, it's the majority of vaccinated people that are coming in that are really sick, or vaccinated people seem to be the majority of what we're experiencing, then we're really going to have a complete and total dysfunction in people that have either taken the vaccine or are believing that the vaccine is going to have some benefit for us long term.
Now, recently, as it's been reported in the news, Jovenel Moise has been assassinated. Haiti was a country that had a fairly low number of cases to begin with. Now that the president has been assassinated, 500,000 or so doses of a vaccine has been sent to the country. Yes. Would you say that Haiti would be an important country to watch as a gauge to find out whether or not the vaccines either work or are essentially causing a spike in COVID cases?
Absolutely. I will be watching Haiti very closely. I have been watching Haiti and other countries very closely because there have been some countries that I have noticed throughout the entire pandemic have never had any high numbers. They've always been down at the bottom. And Haiti has been one of those countries. And I, like many of you, have seen the coup or the destruction of, or the killing of the current president, which, you know, there's so much strife happening in Haiti that we really don't know what the truth is. There are too many reports that are conflicting each other. And a lot of times in those type of situations, you need information that's coming directly from the people in the country, which to me has been difficult to find. But yes, I will be paying attention because I'm expecting after a year and a few months of this pandemic, if Haiti's numbers start going up after this vaccine campaign, then that to me is going to be proof of my concerns in that the vaccines actually lead to the spreading of the disease, but also the kind of dampening of the immune system so that the disease can continue to be spread. Yes, I'll be watching that very closely. That's an excellent point.
Now, the White House reportedly cracked down on what it calls the COVID-19 misinformation. As a doctor, what are your thoughts on this? And is COVID misinformation actually going around?
Yes, I think a lot of COVID misinformation is going around, but I don't necessarily think it's from the people that the government and certain entities are trying to censor. And I would have to just digress a moment and say that as a physician, when I came out of medical school, I knew a lot of information. I had studied a lot of information, and I had seen a lot of the information that I studied on those late nights and all those days reading those books. I saw the reality of that when I walked into the hospital, when I walked into a clinic, or when I walked into an office. And so there comes a time when every person has to take their experience to measure their knowledge. And I think I came to the conclusion, I'm sure I came to the conclusion that a large part of what I thought as a young physician was propaganda and hadn't been proven and had not been presented to me with science backing it. And so that to me is the problem right now, is that we have a lot of people in particular situations that have influence over the public. I'm talking about doctors, healthcare workers, nurses, people in hospital organizations, and then people that trust these people in certain political realms or just influential aspects over communities. And misinformation is being spread by them because all they're doing is taking what certain people are saying or what doctors are saying, and they're just running with it, not stopping and thinking about it, not stopping and thinking about your own experiences, and not stopping to think, does this really make sense when I look at the true science that's supposed to undergird this information? And so it's just a matter of time, I believe, that we will start to see all of these lies start to unravel, and the people are going to see who was and who is telling the truth.
Right. Now, Dr. Akili is our weekly medical contributor, but he also runs the Ultimate Wellness Group. Dr. Akili, what will you be speaking about on tonight's episode of the Ultimate Wellness Group?
Well, interestingly, I'll be talking about the same subjects that you, from the questions you asked me. I'll be talking about keeping our mind state strong, and then doing the activities that will help keep our immune systems strong, and then talking about the things that we can do to make sure that even if we don't feel 100% confident, the things that we can do to maintain having some confidence that we're going to come out of this pandemic better than we came into it. And so please join us tonight at the Ultimate Wellness Group on YouTube, or the THEE Ultimate Wellness Group on Facebook. And we'll also be giving an update to the Black Stream Live. So that's where eventually the Ultimate Wellness Group will be going to support our own. And so please come check us out tonight. And I pray that you have a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Akili, again for your insight as always, and we look forward to hearing more from you next week.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us today and tuning in to National Network View News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, NNV News. This is Rosalind Parks with National Network View News. Good night.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.